Call the meeting to order. Was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Please rise for a moment of silence in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please take roll.
All members are present with Scott Pease and John Dozel online.
Okay. We have the agenda before us. I'd entertain a motion to approve. By Supervisor Gilner, second by Supervisor Barud. Discussion or questions? Supervisor Postowski.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, in the past meetings, citizens and I were concerned about correspondence not being on the agenda. Therefore, I motion to add correspondence to future agendas of this board.
Well, we would need a second. Okay, motion by Supervisor McLaughlin. For correspondence. Discussion on that motion. Supervisor Postowski.
Yeah, I encourage to have correspondence on our agendas to allow citizens and the public, our voters, to at least make a comment if they wish. And this is recommended in order to maintain good relations with us, the government or the county government, the board, and the citizens, the people that elect us. So I believe this is very important to the citizens of Adams County to put this on there. So I recommend everybody, please consider that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So please vote on the motion. The clerk has ready to add correspondence.
All is all yes.
Pease, yes. Scott Pease.
Total votes 20, 10 yes, 10 no.
Okay. That motion fails. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay, Supervisor Pozdolski.
Okay, noted. Okay, we have the April 15th and April 29th meeting minutes. Motion to approve by Supervisor Baker, second by Supervisor Churko. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, minutes are approved. We'll allow public participation. We have a couple people signed up for participation, probably on ordinance number 7. We'll allow that participation right when that ordinance comes on the floor. We'll move on. Clerk, please read announcement of meetings.
Supervisors, claims read by the county clerk. 0.6 supervisors to approve the claims. Paler, Gilner, Crevilio, Bork, Baker, and McLaughlin. Churko 9980, Paler 50942, Gilner 90, Barud 8860, SPs 62, Grabarski 16860, Dozel 6466, Crevilio 62, Hickethier 110, Bork 69, Edwards 190, RPs 245, West 51860, Grabarski 94, Baker 26214, Benkowski 249, Caldwell 19020, David 55, Harvey Beaversdorf 55, Mullins 6620, BP's 55, Paler 7866, Townsend 55, Waugh 55.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to appointments. Clerk, please read.
Reappointment of Linda Bula to the Board of Adjustment.
Motion to approve by Supervisor Grabarski, second by Supervisor Hickathur. Any discussion or questions? Supervisor Pozdowski?
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a question for Linda. Citizens and I are wondering if Linda has attended any training courses that are available and intended for training members of the Board of Adjustments.
I don't know if Linda's even here, so.
Can I? And then another issue or concern that the citizens have, the directory indicates that Bruce Mullins is currently a member of Board of Adjustments. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
He's still currently a member of Board of Adjustments?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay, Supervisor Pozdolski.
That appointment passes, so. Next, we have under minutes, reports, presentations, the Health and Human Services Annual Report. I'd entertain a motion to accept that report. Supervisor Bork, second by Supervisor Edwards. So we have that report. Any questions on that report? Supervisor Pozdowski?
Mr. Chair, if I may, in this report, it indicates that I am a member of Health and Human Services. Now, I was a member in the last term. So this is just something that I'd like to have corrected. I did request to be in Health and Human Services in this term, as I submitted the form at the beginning of this term to our administrator. However, I am just like to make it clear that I'm not a member no longer of Health and Human Services. So I do have a question here, however, and if I may ask Kelly Olson.
The director is not here tonight.
Perhaps another member can answer. I have this question here. We have, if someone could please explain continued compliance within or continued compliance with mental health crisis and substance use disorder according to statute chapter 34, 35, and 75. Can someone please explain that a little more to the citizens and I?
Is anybody, any of the directors, any of the managers? Yes, please.
Adam Short, the Behavioral Health Manager for Adams County here. The different. Okay. Those are the different DHS statutes that govern those different programs for outpatient mental health, crisis services, and substance use services.
Okay, appreciate it. Adam, can you kind of give us more of an idea of what continued compliance is? I mean, that's just kind of a little vague, and if we could get a little explanation on that, please.
That is meeting the statutory requirements as they are written and as there are different acts and interpretations legally from DHS that come down that are nuanced in how they view those policies.
Okay, and can you, within this, can you tell us, does the language within this discuss rehabilitation stabilization center within Adams County to give humane and effective care for the patients?
Currently, we contract with other regional providers for crisis services. And that was not something that was in the scope of our annual report.
So, I mean, citizens are wondering, is there a facility within Adams County?
No, there's not.
No, okay. That's all I have right now. Thank you. Appreciate it, Adam.
Okay. And Supervisor Postowski, the report is correct having your name on there because you were on that board through April of 2024. So you were on there for,
But not the current term? Is that, I mean?
no,
shouldn't that-
it's a 2024 report. So you were on there for at 3 to 4 months before that. So,
I wasn't in Health and Human Services at all in this term though, and I haven't been in there since
well, the term didn't start until
22.
April of 24. So you were on there January, February, March of 24 for the last term. It covers the,
23.
it
It would've been
covers the
23.
calendar year, not the,
That would have been 23.
well, no, the term started in April of 2024, your new term. So,
It wasn't in there. I never attended a meeting in this current term in Health and Human Services as a member. I've attended.
but it
as
was in the
a
prior,
citizen
but it was in
member.
the prior term. 2024 covered part of the prior term and 9 months of this
Well,
term.
all right, just wanted to clarify it. So thank you
Okay.
for that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, okay, so we had the motion to accept the report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay, Supervisor Pozdolski.
That motion passes. Next, we have a presentation for the sales students for their participation with the county board in the last year. So April Eggerstorf, Lillian Church, and Eden Church, please come forward. And Evan Henthorn is he led the group, so. Next, we'll move on to ordinance number 7. When the clerk is ready, please read.
Ordinance 7, 2025, repeal and replacement of vehicles, all-terrain ordinance 18-2021, last amended 4/20/2021 by ordinance 19, 2021, recommended for enactment by the Adams County Highway Commission on this 10th day of April 2025. Carlson, Bork, McLaughlin, Baroud, SPs.
Motion to enact by Supervisor Gilner, second by Supervisor Churko. So we have ordinance number 7 on the floor. So we have or Carvillo, sorry. Thank you for thanks for that correction. So we have 2 people signed up to speak on this. Dennis Kolwicki, if I please come up to the front and use the mic up here. Cynthia, want to turn that on, please? So you have 3 minutes to speak, sir.
Dennis Kolwicki, 1823 South Duck Creek Drive, Friendship, Wisconsin, Town of Quincy. I'm president of the Rustic Ridge Riders Snowmobile ATV Club since 2010. I am also the newly elected president of the Adams County ATV UTV Association. In 2017, the Rustic Ridge Riders, we approached the town of Quincy for riding ATV UTVs on all town roads. Took us approximately 4 years to get that run through. We've been riding in Quincy since October 1st, 2021, with no incidents, no problems, no sheriff's reports or anything. As I look around the room here and I see our support for ATV UTVs, I am 78 years old and I ride. And looking at the crowd that we have here representing us and supporting us, the average age I would basically say for riders is probably 60, 55 at the lowest. The main thing I want to speak about, which people haven't spoke about, is access. Nobody wants to ride on county roads. All people want to do is get on a road, get off. All they want to do is go to their destination for riding. As you know, there's 225 miles of county roads, and we're only allowed to ride on like 35 miles of them, which is only 16% of the county highways. There's a lot of people that live on county roads that have no access to get off their property, to go hunting, fishing, go to their destination, go to church on Sunday, take their garbage to the transfer sites in all the 17 municipalities that we have here. So my big stress is all we really want and people need is access. Nobody wants to really ride on a county road. Another thing I wanted to bring up, safety. The County Sheriff's Department holds multiple ATV, UTV safety classes throughout the year. On June 10th this year, the Monroe Prairie ATV UTV Club is again sponsoring a safety day. Wisconsin ATV UTV Association will be there. I'm sure Randy Harden, the president of the ATV UTV Association for the state of Wisconsin, will be there. They'll be passing out pamphlets and things like that on ATV UTV safety. There will also be ATV UTV ambassadors there trying to promote ATV UTV riders for the ambassador program.
Dennis,
And-
your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
I just have one more thing to say. Ride safely, smartly, respectfully, responsibly, while obeying the law. Thank you.
Then we have Steve McIntosh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve McIntosh, 2146 Blackhawk Street, Town of Quincy. The ordinance you have before you tonight is work that was done basically between the Adams County ATV UTV Association, an elected official of Adams County, and 2 employees of Adams County, where we tried to take the existing ordinance and make it a situation where instead of roads being closed, highways being closed, and then having a fractured setup for road access, this was designed to open the roads, and then systematically, if roads had to be closed, it would be done according to a certain protocol. This would allow the highway department to analyze and to look at safety as the primary concern for the opening of the roads. And it would allow the highway committee chairman to close roads and put detours where it was necessary for construction, maintenance, storm damage, or even safety issues. This was done to give the county highway department the flexibility it needed to work directly with the ATV, UTV associations so that we could create a safe and secure system of road routes that would connect all the towns in Adams County so that access could be made easily and safely. And since now all the towns have their roads open, we wouldn't have any conflicts with towns that had closed roads. I'd like to thank people of the committee who put a lot of time and effort into this. This ordinance gives the highway department and the county board the option of doing any additions that they would need to do to it and to make it a safe system. Appreciate very much everybody coming tonight. And hopefully, if you have any other questions about discussing this ordinance, be happy to answer those for you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open up for discussion for the supervisors. Questions? Supervisor McLaughlin?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just gonna try to be brief as I can. With a little history of this issue. It was either in 2022 or very early in 2023 that this issue was presented to the Highway Committee. At that time, I said that I did not feel, of course, the Highway Committee is made up of 5 county board members. At that time, at the Highway Committee meeting, I said that I did not believe that 5 out of 20 board supervisors ought to make that decision. And as a result, there was a non-binding referendum done in the April 2023 spring election. And the results have been posted and they are obtainable from the clerk and numerous other places. I believe I sent it to all the board supervisors. I will point out a couple of things. There were 3 towns that the majority voted no. In no town was it like a landslide for yes. And Rome in particular, I represent a portion of, the vote for no was 611. The vote for yes was 611. I'm sorry. Yes, 611. No, 873. And that is somewhat of a substantial difference. At the last Highway Committee meeting that we actually held, our last one was canceled. The one prior we held, and this ordinance was again on the brought forth. And because, again, I felt that if there were 3 no votes at that Highway Committee meeting, it would have died there and never made it here. Okay. And that's so there were 2 no's and 2 yeses. I voted yes for the purpose of getting it here because I thought that was the proper way to do it. I still believe that this board as a whole should be making that decision. And that's why I made that vote that way. Something else struck me, and I guess it hit home when Chairman West, read the action at the Highway Committee and recommended for enactment by this day and there. And I'm thinking, oh my God, at that Highway Committee, I made it clear why I voted yes and said that that did not necessarily mean that I was going to vote yes here, but I felt it needed to get here. But again, I guess it struck home too when it said recommended for enactment. That's, I don't think that's an accurate description. I mean, that's the way it's been described for decades. I mean, I understand that. It's just that now it really hit home that I don't know if that is entirely the true all the time. I think recommended for forwarding to the full county board is a more appropriate statement. But again, I just wanted to make my comments known. Again, I'm one of 3 Rome representatives, and there are some issues with laws that apply to ATV people, and I mean some that don't, that maybe should. That does concern me, but I think equally as much what concerns me is the vote differential from Rome people. Basically not wanting it. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Supervisor Postowski?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may. So I'm all for people out there enjoying our roads and enjoying freedom and going places and having the ability to go where they please. So now, but when I look at this resolution, I read things in here that might be an overreach of the government and restrict our freedoms. And if I could please have Lina scroll to the resolution where it says it's statute 347-3, please. Okay, so when I look here, it's designation of routes. and general regulations. So I'm looking here and it's 347-3, particularly D. When we look at D and we read 2, no individual should operate UTV designated during the period of between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. So with the concern of that is, most adults don't have curfews, and we're giving adults curfews here. I mean, some people might be using these UTVs for business, to go to work. Some people might work at night. There's a lot of criteria that probably people are legitimately out there on the roads after midnight. So this is one concern, and I'm gonna make a few other comments here, and then I'm gonna make a motion. So another one would be 3, how every person needs to have a license, except in this portion of the county on Z, people don't have to have a license. So it's an inconsistency within the laws that is a little bit of it's not a little bit, it's an issue. And then also, when we scroll down a little more, please, to 5, no person operating a UTV shall engage in the practice of cruising. Right there, I want to ask, who determines what's cruising? You know, we have rights within the United States and our freedom, and I think cruising is probably a big part of having a UTV. So I don't really see where this is necessary to have some of this. It seems like an overreach of government, and these statutes don't apply to the county roads for motorists with licensed drivers. So why are we changing some of these laws that are affecting our roads? This seems to be an overreach. So I'm going to motion to strike items under 347-3, and it's going to be D2, which regarding the time of day. I'd like to motion to strike D, item 2. I'd also like to strike item 3. And I'm going to motion to strike 5, which regards cruising. And I believe these infringe on our rights and our freedoms. And this is why I'm removing this language.
So motion to remove D2, number 3, and number 5 under that section.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Motion to strike, I guess, would be the proper verbiage. Motion to strike those items.
Okay, I don't see a second on that motion, so that motion fails for the lack of a second.
Okay. One more thing, a concern. Citizens were wondering about road closures, and we understand safety, but when we close a road, now and here it says the road commissioner has that authority. I didn't see the language in here where it needs to be approved by the board here. So I guess I would amend this to the road commissioner must gain approval from the board for road closures or route closures.
And I guess we need probably a specific spot for that, or.
Well, I mean, the concern is that road closures could happen that affect businesses during times of, tourism season. So it just needs to be the citizens and I believe this should be brought before the board if there's any closures with our roads. I mean, it needs to be approved like everything else is. So thank you.
Well, he made a motion, so we're waiting for a second on that. Your second? Okay, seeing no second, that motion fails for a second, so. Supervisor Hickathrift?
Thank you. I want to support this. But I'm concerned that there is no control of speed limit. That basically, if you're on Z and it's 55, you can go 55 on your ATV or whatever, how fast it'll go. That's the first thing. Second thing is, we're not addressing anything with open intoxicants. Now, maybe our attorney can address that. Maybe there's something I'm missing here.
I can address the open intoxicants. So the prohibited language is taken from chapter 23.33 of the Wisconsin statutes. And the two paragraphs you see in there about alcohol and substances are the only two paragraphs that appear in that chapter. So somebody could make an emotion to amend and to add a local ordinance in or a county ordinance in that open intoxicants would be prohibited. However, we would also need to come up with a penalty since, because the prohibition against open intoxicants is not in chapter 23.33, there's no penalty for it in that chapter either. I've looked at chapter 346, which applies to motor vehicles, and the penalty there for open intoxicants is a fine of $100. So, whether you would want to do the same thing or something else, but we would need a motion to prohibit open intoxicants, and we would need it stated what the penalty should be.
Supervisor Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call upon Steve McIntosh to do a follow-up on some of that's coming up here in the Senate, please, if I can.
Okay.
Just briefly.
If he's, yes.
Thank you. April of 2024, Senate Bill 262 came before the state Senate and specifically addressed this issue of open intoxicants in ATVs and UTVs. And this is a subject that has been looked at prior times by the state. Unfortunately, it failed to pass out of the Senate. Because of that, a lot of either the towns that have open roads have opted to put in open seal restrictions. And as I read on further, two counties, Lafayette and St. Croix, have added into their ordinance restricting open seal. We did not put it in there because there was so much ambiguity coming from the state as to when or how they wanted to implement this. And with the timing of getting the ordinance in, we felt that it would give the county board the option to add this in if they wanted to with their own wording and with their own penalties. So that is why it was left out of this ordinance, so that the flexibility was at the county board level. And you are correct, it would have to be coordinated with the county sheriff and with the penalties that you are wanting to impose with that. It's considered a recreational vehicle, so the DNR has a lot of control over that and how that would be on someone's record. It's not considered like a car or a pickup truck.
Okay, thank you. I was gonna ask Sheriff York if he would maybe explain, Supervisor Hickathrift had a question about speed and about enforcing speed limits or.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So as far as speed limits are concerned with ATV vehicles, they're not like a normal vehicle. So typically we would enforce speed by reckless, careless operation. So if it was, for example, a 25-mile-an-hour speed zone and a UTV, ATV was going 45, then we could issue a citation for reckless, careless operation. But there's no specific statute similar to the open intox in 2333.
Okay. If it would.
Excuse me. Is there restrictions in certain townships?
A lot of municipalities, do, have the speed limits in their ordinances. I don't know if they're consistent without, referring to all of them.
Supervisor McLaughlin.
Thank you. Couple of questions for the sheriff. I mean, it's easy to write laws. That's really easy to pen laws. Enforcement of them and the practicality of enforcement can sure be an issue though. And, I guess I would ask the sheriff if he has abundant enough personnel to take on now to start watching for ATV, alcohol misuse and speeding and all this kind of other thing. Again, it's easy to write a law. The practicality of it doing any good is another thing.
Sheriff, here.
Yeah, so, as you guys all know, I have, Deputy McFarland. He's our recreation deputy. He's the one primarily assigned to enforce, all the recreation, laws and ordinances here in Adams County. I guess, I maybe put him on the spot, but if he wants to say something about the speed, I think a lot of times what we might see with restricting lower speeds, especially on county highways, if we restrict it to 35, and you have a vehicle that's traveling at 55, that those vehicles are closing upon that UTV, at a very high rate of speed. So that's why a lot of times, you don't see those lower speed limits on county highways, because they actually sometimes can induce accidents. And again, as I think it was stated earlier, most times people are just using county highways as a viaduct to get to some other road or route that's off of a county highway. But if, Deputy McFarland want to say anything about, speed, or I guess even open and talks, if you see that a lot, while you're out patrolling, with the approval of the chair.
Yes, deputy, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So in regards to, I'll address the speed first. The biggest thing with ATVs, UTVs is unless it's posted specifically to ATVs or UTVs, they have to follow the posted speed limit. And then if there is no posted speed limit for ATVs or UTVs, they have to follow then the highway posted speeds. And there is we do have a state statute where we can enforce speed as well with ATVs, UTVs already. As far as open intox, I guess in my time as the recreation deputy, I've stopped probably, couple thousand UTVs, ATVs, and it's just not nearly as prevalent as I think everyone might think it is. There's been a few times I've seen it, but I've seen it a heck of a lot in a lot of cars too. So it's not just UTVs or ATVs. It's definitely, it's on every vehicle that that we come across, definitely.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Bork.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I guess building off that says that the open intoxicants are in cars just as much, but there is a law there for it in the cars to enforce it. In the ATV, UTVs, it is not. My big concerns with a lot of this is, I know the laws all follow pretty much the same from automobiles to UTVs, ATVs, but the penalties are, in my mind, a big difference between them when you don't have a penalty for open intoxicants on a ATV, UTV, but you do have it on an automobile. But then you go to the operating while intoxicated. I've looked up what the CCAP, what somebody that may have operating while intoxicated, and the fine is basically half of what it is in a motor vehicle. And you look at the fines for if you have open intoxicants, or you have a person under 16 in a car with a operating while intoxicated versus what it is in UTV, ATV, it is roughly half of that again. I see it as a big discrepancy in between it. I've said it many times through the negotiations, through these ATV ordinances I think I've sat through 3 of them. that once their front tires touch the road, they should be considered a motor vehicle and not a recreational vehicle, and all laws and penalties should be assessed the same, not, you look at the penalties. I had some of the penalties sent to me, and there's no, you know, it doesn't go on your driver's license. You know, the penalties don't go on there, and it's just a monetary fine. So I feel that that is, if we want to have them on the roads, they should be considered motor vehicles. That's just the way I look at it. And with the, like it says, with the having minors in the vehicle and having that, the penalty should be the same. I just, I guess when I first became on the highway committee, I thought, oh yeah, let's open them up. I thought that was great. I've had an ATV or UTV my whole adult life pretty much, until I started reading this stuff. And once you learn something, I can't unlearn it. So my principals tell me that until these match, I can't support it. I can make concessions and doing things like Mr. Hickethier says, to have a speed on it, because I did look up, and since 2018 to 2024 that there was a 245% increase in deaths in Wisconsin on ATV UTVs. And I know the people can argue with me and tell me that's because there's more ATVs and UTVs on the road. I understand that, but it's going to keep going up the more roads we put out there. And I look at the crash reports, and the majority of them are lost control, rolled, or ejected. That's the majority of the crashes. So I feel that the suspensions, driving on paved roads, going at those speeds a little bit, and I don't ever talk about my family bunch, but I've had a family member, two different family members that had accidents on UTVs, or not UTVs, ATVs on a paved road. And it was just because a quick overreaction and taking them to the hospital. That ain't fun to go get that road rash out of them. And those are the things I think about. So for that reason, until something gets amended on here differently, I won't support this. Thank you.
Supervisor Carrillo.
Mr. Chair, could we have Deputy McFarland go over the actual fines that they catch on the trails? Because I attended the Monroe ATV UTV meeting, and he was very thorough along with the DNR, and explained to everybody the regulations and the different registration of the vehicles, and that's why they can carry open liquor on the vehicles. So if Officer McFarland would be willing to do that, I'd appreciate it.
Please, sir.
I can definitely list off some of like the most common violations that I see. Biggest one that we see across the state definitely is safety cert. So anyone required after January 1st of 1988 is required to have a safety cert. That starts at $232. Non-registration of a UTV or ATV is also $232. Seatbelts. So once again, if a UTV is equipped with a seatbelt, you're required to wear that, and that starts at $162.70. So these DNR citations are definitely pricey, and they definitely leave a lasting mark, because I have contact with multiple people definitely over and over, and once they get one of these citations, they're definitely quick to learn that these are not joking matters that we definitely have. So if there's any other specific questions as far as citation amounts, I'm glad to answer those.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Supervisor Scott Pease.
Yeah, while he's sitting there, could you go over what multiple, say, ATV, UTV rider has first OWI, and what does it get progressive, or is it the same amount for concurrent ones, like it is for somebody that drives a car or a truck on the roadway?
So the first amount for OWI, usually we're seeing a citation for whatever we're stopping that person with, whether it's headlights or seatbelt violation, you name it. And then the OWI citation is $452. And then it depends on if that person has a refusal with any of our practices as far as going through. That's another $452. And then if we're looking at a prohibited alcohol concentrate or prohibited substance in their blood, that's $452 as well. Then our second offense, if we look at second offense, we are looking at a misdemeanor at that point. And I believe the bond amounts are still the same. I could be wrong. I haven't run into that too much. It seems like we see a lot of first time offenders. So, but we're definitely looking at, it enhances definitely as a criminal matter as you have more on your record.
Does the alcohol content ever go down like it does in your driver's license at the second or the third one at 0.02?
I believe no, and I could be wrong, but I'm gonna say that it's still a 0.08.
And it's still a misdemeanor, correct? And it's a felony with your driver's license or on a vehicle with a vehicle?
Well, you'd have to get to number 4 offense with a motor vehicle to be a felony. But
Okay, and what's the number for ATV, UTV?
I couldn't get off the top of my head, but I could definitely get back to you in a moment here.
Thank you.
Any other supervisors have questions? Comments? Supervisor Dave Grabarski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to propose an amendment to 347.3, item D, line 7. I'll explain why I'm doing this later, but and no to be added after the last word, and no operator or passenger of an ATV or a UTV shall have an open intoxicant within their immediate possession, subject to a $100 fine.
You want, that was 347.
347.3,
dash-
item D, go down to line 7.
Okay. Okay, and Supervisor Hickathur seconded that, so.
Okay, many times as I read through this ordinance, we talk about safe. I think it's in there 5 or 6 or 7 times. Wouldn't it be safer to have no open intoxicants? And to go a little further, I posed this question to my town board or to the members at the town board in the town of Easton and the audience for the last 2 months. And they've all told me that they would be happy with it. They want them open, but they sure would like to see that no open intoxicants can be on the SUV and ATV. So that's why I proposed it.
Okay. Further discussions on that amendment?
Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Dolan?
Yes. Thank you, sir. Can you explain the amendment again? I apologize. I'm not comprehending what he's wanting to change.
And I don't know if you could read that again, Supervisor.
I want to add,
Grabarski.
to the, after the last word where it says, incapable of safe operation of the ATV, UTV. I want to add, and no operator or passenger of an ATV, UTV shall have an open intoxicant within their immediate possession.
And it's subject to a $100 fine.
Yes,
Thank you.
Do you have further questions, Supervisor Dolan?
No, thank you.
Any other questions on that discussion? Okay, the clerk's ready. Please vote on that amendment.
Dolzal, SPs,
SPs, yes.
Yes.
Total votes, 20, 17 yes, 2 no, 1 abstaining. No, Gilner, Carvillo, abstaining Podolsky, and 3 yes for sale.
Okay, that amendment passes. Any other discussions, questions? Okay. Seeing none, I guess we're moving forward with a vote on the amended ordinance. Number 7. When the clerk is ready, please vote.
SPs, Dozel,
SPs,
Yes.
no.
Dolezal, yes.
total votes 20, 14 yes, 5 no. No, Paler, Bork, Argabarsky, McLaughlin, and SPs, with Podolsky abstaining, 3 sale yes.
Okay. With that vote, ordinance number 7 is enacted, so. When the clerk is ready, we'll move on to ordinance number 8.
Ordinance 8, 2025, amendment of Adams County zoning ordinance to rezone a parcel from R1 Single Family Residential District to A3 Secondary Agriculture District in the town of Adams, recommended for enactment by the Adams County Planning and Zoning Committee on the 7th day of May, 2025. Hickethier, Dozel, Paler, Knockreiner, Carvillo, Barud, Thiessen.
Motion to enact by Supervisor Gilner, second by Supervisor Baker. We have ordinance number 8 on the floor. Supervisor Baker has question.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should just maybe take a short pause for some of the audience members to
To leave if they want.
leave.
Okay. Okay, 5-minute recess. We'll start back up at 7 o'clock. How's that? 6-minute recess, so.
Mr. Chair, if I may just, I'd like to change my vote on that. I wasn't quite clear on what we were voting for. I thought we were voting on the amendment only. Voted on the resolution, so I'd like to change
You
it
can
to
come up
a
and
no
talk.
vote.
We're in recess right now, so. I call the meeting back to order. So we have ordinance number 8 on the floor then, so questions, discussion on ordinance number 8. Okay, seeing none, if the clerk's ready, please vote on ordinance number 8.
Dolezal, yes.
SPs,
Yes.
total votes 20, 18, 20 yes, 3 Sale yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 8 is enacted. When the clerk is ready, we'll move on to ordinance number 9.
Ordinance 9, 2025, amendment of the Adams County zoning ordinance, rezone a parcel from A115 exclusive agriculture district from farmland preservation overlay to A3 secondary agriculture district in the town of Del Prairie. Recommended for enactment by the Adams County Planning and Zoning Committee on the 7th day of May, 2025. Hickathir, Dozell, Paler, Knockreiner, Crevilio, Barud, Thiessen.
Motion to enact by Supervisor Paler, second by Supervisor Brood. So we have ordinance number 9 on the floor. Discussion or questions on ordinance number 9? Okay. Seeing none. When the clerk's ready, please vote.
Dolezal, yes.
Pease, yes.
Total votes 20, 20 yes, 3 Sale yes.
Okay. That passes. Ordinance number 9 is enacted. When the clerk is ready, we'll move on to ordinance number 10.
Ordinance 10, 2025, rezone a portion of 2 parcels, 28.2 plus or minus from R1 Single Family Residential District to A3 Secondary Agriculture District in the town of Adams, recommended for enactment by the Adams County Planning and Zoning Committee on the 7th day of May, 2025. Hickathir, Dozell, Paler, Knockreiner, Crevilio, Barud, Thiessen.
Motion to enact by Supervisor Crevilio, second by Supervisor Gilner. We have ordinance number 10 on the floor. Discussion or questions? Okay. Seeing none, please vote on ordinance number 10.
Dolezal, yes.
Pease, yes.
Total votes 20, 20 yes, 3 Sale yes.
That passes. Ordinance number 10 is enacted. When the clerk is ready, we'll move on to ordinance number 11.
Ordinance 11, 2025, amendment of the Adams County zoning ordinance, rezone a portion of 2 parcels, 25.8 plus or minus from B1 Rural Business District and R2 Rural Residential District to A1 15 Exclusive Agriculture District in the town of Adams.
Motion to enact by Supervisor Paler. Have a second? Second by Supervisor Gilner. We have ordinance number 11 on the floor. We have member of the public that wanted to speak.
Correct.
So if you want to leave her on, and she's virtual or on the phone.
She's ready.
Go ahead. You can speak.
Okay, can
3
you hear
minutes,
me?
please. Yes.
You
Please
can
say
hear
your
me now?
name and address. And
Yes, my name is Daleen Marlowe. I'm at 2502 State Highway 13 in Adams, and I'm at the property just directly north of this subject property here. We adjoining to the north. I just wanted to voice my objection to this rezoning.
We feel the air quality will have a major negative impact on us. 6,000 chickens are a lot of chickens, and they will definitely have a smell. We will not be able to enjoy the outdoors or even open our windows. The noise quality will even be affected. That many chickens will also make a lot of noise all day long. Another concern is about the groundwater quality. We're wondering, where is all the daily waste products from these 6,000 chickens going? What are the guidelines for the disposal of this waste, and who monitors or governs this? Not only are we concerned about the amount of these chickens, but by changing the zoning to ag, it's going to open the door for any livestock raising and processing. If I'm not mistaken, this will allow up to 25 livestock animals per acre, which could mean nearly 650 hogs or any other livestock for that matter. This is on a major highway. This could even affect your tourism to Adams Friendship. Like I said, Highway 13 is one of the main highways coming into town, and people will definitely have to smell that, whether it's 6,000 chickens, 650 hogs farms. It's just quite a lot there. My family built this house as a retirement home, residential here. My family worked hard to get to this where we're at. We enjoy sitting outside on nice days, relaxing when we can. If this zoning change goes through, we will not be able to sit outside and enjoy the fresh air and peaceful sounds of the nature. That will all disappear. So I just wanted to voice my opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Questions? Discussion by the supervisors? Supervisor Dave Kubarski.
One thing, I believe, the numbers should be converted to animal units. So many animal units, and it takes, I think, 200 or 300 chickens to make an animal unit equivalent to a cow. So, some of those numbers were skewed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Supervisor Baker.
I just want to correct what's printed on the ordinance number 11. If this is the town of Adams, it's in the ordinance listed on the agenda, it says town of Easton. And I think then on the resolution, it says the town of Adams, I believe.
The last line, town of Easton, Adams County.
That it was somewhere Easton and Adams got mixed up.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think what he's referring to is in the second, whereas it does say town of Adams. In
Okay.
the therefore resolved, it does say town of Easton. The parcel numbers are correct, and those are town of Easton numbers, and the property is in the
Okay.
town of Easton,
Okay.
but the whereas is incorrect.
Clerk will make those corrections. Well, the clerk will make those corrections. Okay. Seeing no further questions, please vote on ordinance number 11.
Those all yes.
Scott Pease, nay.
Total votes 20, 17 yes, 3 no. Gilner, SPs, Hickethier, 3 Sale yes.
That passes, so ordinance number 11 is enacted. When the clerk is ready, we'll move on to resolution number 12.
Resolution 12, 2025, resolution to approve mining an additional 150 ton of material from the Seven Sisters Quarry during calendar year 2025. Introduced and recommended for adoption by the Highway Committee this 10th day of April 2025. Carlson, Bork, Baroud, SPs, McLaughlin.
Motion to adopt by Supervisor McLaughlin, second by Supervisor Carlson. We have resolution number 12 on the floor. Any discussion or questions? Supervisor Rick Pease.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, it seems like every year we always approve an additional tonnage out of that quarry. Most of this staying within Adams County, and how come they're not guessing or estimating what they need right away instead of us doing it twice every year?
Supervisor Bork.
I believe the way their contract is written up, it's for 100,000 ton a year is what their contract is allotted them to take out of their year. So every year they gotta come back if they have an additional tonnage that they believe. And that doesn't necessarily stay in Adams County, cause that quarry serves Wood County, Portage County, lots of neighboring places too. So that's where it's all going to wherever the projects are.
Supervisor Postowski.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, who assumes the cost savings, or who determines that? On the hauling in the verbiage here. We see this.
The quarry is leased out to Milestone Materials, so they crush it and pay the county a royalty for every ton they take out of there.
But who determines the hauling cost? Is it, as it says here?
No hauling cost in it.
It says it's reasonable to assume a savings for hauling. Who?
Well, they probably wouldn't take it out of the quarry unless it would, why would they want to haul it farther?
Right, but while the cost savings is determined, it is reasonable to assume. I mean, to assume, that's the question for me. And then who assumes this? So that's another question for me. Those are questions that we don't seem to have any answers for, so.
I guess, I mean, it's the savings is to the contractor that's mining it. Because if they have to truck it from a longer quarry to a different project, it's gonna cost them more money. So this is a cost savings to them to be able to haul it out of that quarry. And on the same token, every ton that goes out there goes into I believe it's into the equipment fund for the highway department to help them buy equipment, so. And it gets the quarry, so the town of Rome can have a lake quicker.
So.
98.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, please vote on resolution number 12.
Dolezal, yes.
Pease, yes.
Total votes 20. 19 yes, 1 no. Podolsky, 3 Sale, yes.
Resolution number 12 passes and that is adopted. So when the clerk is ready, we'll move on to resolution number 13.
Resolution 13, 2025, resolution to utilize opioid settlement funds for peer support pilot program introduced by and recommended for adoption by the Admin and Finance Committee this second day of May 2025. West, RPs, Gabarsky, Edwards, Paler.
Motion to adopt by Supervisor Rick Pease, second by Supervisor Edwards. We have resolution number 13 on the floor. We're going to start with a presentation here before we have discussion and questions. So.
All right, thank you, everyone. DHS Director Olson and Sheila Michaels, who is part of the opioid settlement fund or committee, were not able to make it tonight. So either fortunately or unfortunately, you're left with me tonight. And not working, Lana. Yeah, I'll just have to point at Jeff. Thank you. So in January 2022, the county board passed a resolution creating this work group. As part of the resolution, the task was to thoroughly research abatement strategies as well as to recommend the spending of opioid litigation funds. When the work group first began meeting in August of 2022, the county had just received its first payment under the settlement agreement. Because additional litigation was still in progress, we did not have an idea how much money to anticipate, and we did not have a timeline. The work group began to start educating ourselves as a work group. We had a general overview about what was happening at the county department levels in regards to opioid epidemic. Next slide. In March, we held an educational opportunity specifically for opioid settlement work group members as well as county board supervisors. The title of the presentation was The Opioid Epidemic, How We Got Here. The event began with the presentation by the Sheriff's Office on the history and impacts of the opioid epidemic locally. There was also a professional panel that shared what they had been seeing. We then heard from a panel of local individuals with firsthand experience to the opioid epidemic. At this event, we learned about lives shattered, lives lost due to opioid addiction, about gaps in services, about the struggles people face and meet their basic needs, include housing, food, and safety, the difficulty in finding help, and the support key and that support is key to successful treatment and recovery. We also learned how invaluable it is to hear from people who have been there. Next slide. We came up with a plan to gather more contextual information from people who had firsthand experience battling opioid use disorders, as well as family members who had been impacted and loved ones' addiction. We conducted a survey in the spring of 24 and followed that one with the one-on-one discussions and small group listening sessions as well. Slide. We then came together this past summer to review what data showed us. Here are some key takeaways from what we learned. Up here, one in front of me, sorry. I am back one more yet even. Everyone forward. I should be on slide, back one more. That one right there. All right, the biggest challenges people were faced with is 60% of respondents did not know where to go for help or where even to start. About 47% felt judged, and 56% felt ashamed to go for help. And 40% said they were lacking support. Common threads in life circumstances included starting the use of drugs at a very young age. Average age was 16, with some starting at the age of 12. Experiencing childhood trauma, using substances, often multiple different types of substances as a coping strategy. And this slide here just shows some of the different obstacles and barriers that were shared with us. Slide. They also shared what would be most helpful to them, and there's a couple points on there. So more pathways to recovery, prevention, addiction education, housing opportunities, family supports, and supports for people in the justice system. Next slide. Hearing from some of the people with lived experiences, these are a couple quotes from them who came to our listening sessions. So I'll just read those two. When you're in active addiction or even a family member, dealing with professionals is intimidating. We need people with peer support training, someone who understands mental health and addiction, and maybe a little of the medical. The second one, if you've known nothing but drugs, you need someone to help teach you how to navigate life. After analyzing and reviewing all this information, we took a turn sharing what stood out to us. And what the solutions came to mind, and one clear theme emerged. We agreed the top priority was to expand access to certified peer support services in Adams County. So what is peer support? This slide talks about that. It's they're certified coaches, training. There's certifications for those people. And some of the benefits are emotional support, practical guidance, accountability, hope, and inspiration. Next slide. Actually, you can go to the next slide as well. So some of the peer support services can be provided in a variety of ways. They're one-on-one meetings, group recovery meetings, regularly scheduled recovery group meetings that work through a specific topic or curriculum, some of which we have outlined are Smart Recovery and Narcotics Anonymous. Group activities, sober events, or activities like movie night, crafting, hiking. Peer support is impactful. Research consistently shows that peer support has significantly and positively impact on recovery outcomes. Peer support can be available 24/7, 365, and receiving support and guidance from someone who has lived experience when you need help is critical. Individuals are more likely to be honest regarding their use and challenges with a peer support recovery coach specialist as opposed to somebody involved in the judicial system. Next slide. So what's available in our community now? Right now we have Justice Point, which is grant funded for their treatment court. And we have a peer support person there for approximately 20 hours a week. However, that is limited to the the treatment court participants. Three Bridges Recovery has one-on-one support, which is provided on a limited basis. And Three Bridges Recovery is providing a program across central Wisconsin with partnerships in several different counties, including Clark, Langlade, Portage, Marathon, Taylor, and Wood County in the jail settings. Next slide. So currently in our jail, there's no formal peer support available. There's a significant need for formal peer support programming. Inmates often experience prolonged periods of forced absence while incarcerated, opportunities to build investment in recovery while incarcerated. Peer support can help coach inmates as they transition from jail back into the community, and provide support during incarceration can significantly reduce both substance use and relapse and recidivism. The next slide. So approved uses. So there are approved uses. You can flip through. So the next 8 slides are just basically documenting what the approved uses are. And in those, peer support aligns with several different categories within the approved uses document. So I'll just let you flip through. Those are from the outline of what, like I said, again, the approved uses. And through that, there's also core strategies. And approved core strategies are where we really want to focus. And again, peer support is another core strategy. Funds available. Must have hit another button there. Yeah, there we go. So currently, the opioid settlement funds are required to be kept in a separate account, and we currently have $438,217. Next slide. And through 2020, from 2025 through 2027, we're anticipated to get, there's another button to hit there, $105,010. So over the next 3 years, we anticipate receiving an additional $105,010 through 2027. So the proposal and the request is to expand formal peer support services in Adams County. We want to create a 3-year peer support pilot program. We would be contracting with Three Bridges Recovery, which is a nonprofit organization. They currently, again, serve Clark, Columbia, Langlade, Lincoln, Marathon, and Portage counties with other limited services in Adams and Taylor County. So the services, the contract would include one-on-one peer support, community-based smart recovery program, smart recovery inside out jail program, community engagement and outreach, peer support, supervision, and training. The cost of the contract for 1 year is $107,250.90. It's an ongoing evaluation. Participants complete the intake process and reassessments at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. Again, with that, we have the Smart Recovery Program, which is a coach and one-on-one week for 2 hours. The Smart Recovery Inside Out Jail Program for that price. And with that, if we don't use all those hours or services during that time, we only get billed for what we use. So it's not, so it could be less than this proposed amount. In the folder and this, what's attached to the county board agenda here tonight is also a folder. And with that, there's a letter of support. I hope everyone took a minute to look at that. So there's numerous county officials, both elected, they're mostly part of the CJCC committee, but part of the judicial system that supports this peer support. That's all that I had, and I guess I would take any questions.
Supervisor Postowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may ask, Sheriff York question. So Sheriff, I appreciate your presentation here. However, in the presentation, it wasn't made clear that there's any kind of a detox or stabilization, what have you, rehab center here in Adams County that's available to take patients to. I guess my recommendation concern would, we'd like to get people help with alcohol and drug addiction before they're in jail. And it seems as though there's only limited resources here and language here that would give them that when they're in jail. Is there any kind of actual physical center that we can take patients here other than jail in Adams County, Brent? I mean, as far as like a rehab center or a detox, I mean, for example, somebody's, you know, suffering from alcohol sickness. I mean, we used to know of a detox center, but I mean, is there any such a place, stabilization center, that we are looking at or we have?
Well, I mean, we're not talking about alcohol abuse. We're talking about opioid.
Right.
And
It's
that's the
kind of,
opioid fund. So I mean, we should really be talking about the opioids and.
well, I mean, one could argue that drug and alcohol addiction are kind of one and the same.
Well, and I'm not saying that they aren't, but the funds have to be used for opioid abatement.
Well, I mean, there's no place that there seems there's no place to give help for people suffering from drug addiction here. So I'm just gonna make a motion here and I'm just gonna throw it out there. We got $400 and something thousand here. I'm gonna make a motion that we apply this as a good start to a actual stabilization rehab center here in Adams County that we can take the patients for humane care. That's my motion. That it add to this presentation or this plan.
Okay, I don't see a second on that motion, so the motion fails for lack of a second, so. Any other questions for the sheriff? Supervisor Baker first and then Supervisor. So we'll go in order there.
Sheriff, do you have any idea, as part of this program, how many hours or whatever they would be working out of your jail or with your inmates? If any of the timeframes are broken down at all?
That's true. Yes. Yeah, so we have that all broken down. I didn't go into that kind of details, but for all the different programs, we have it broken down per coach, how long it is, number of meetings. So, and those are all the different peer support. So jail is 4 hours weekly. And then the SMART meetings, there's one coach for 2 hours. And this also includes the materials for the inmates that they would have. And so of this, in this $107,000 contract, there's 1,664 hours of programming that is built in within that cost and divided with the different types of programming that we've outlined.
Thank you. Ms. Eggersdorf?
Thank you. I was just wondering, is it mandatory if someone's in jail that they take this counseling? Like if they're in jail for opioids, is it mandatory that they take this counseling?
No, it is not. This completely would be voluntary for the inmates. We find that anything that we can do to help the inmates while incarcerated, keep their mind focused on, you know, getting out, being rehabilitated, helps, oust the county, the staff while they're incarcerated, in the long run. So they're in jail, they're, you know, serving their time or sitting in probation hold, whatever it is. And to, you know, try and break the cycle the best we can. This is a great opportunity to reintroduce them to a peer support person while incarcerated, that when they do get out, they're able to contact that person. Because again, they're not going to call me for help, because of, you know, law enforcement. And so they often don't know where to start or where to go. So this is a great program to bridge that gap that we don't have right now.
Supervisor Shelton?
Kind of two questions. The 438, is there anything else that's earmarked against that? Or is that what we have right now? Is there plans? to
That's
spend-
what we have currently right now. And it's not, this is the first payment out of those funds, correct? Finance Director?
There, I was just gonna, I can
Go
answer
right
that
ahead,
as well.
go
So,
ahead.
so there's $20,000 that was already approved for a wellness program for the sheriff's office, pilot program for the wellness of the first responders that have dealt with this opiate epidemic. So that's $20,000 that we haven't been billed yet, but it's been approved.
And the second part is, do we have to commit to 3 years on this, or is there a 1 year option on the trial? 'Cause I'd hate to see almost all this committed to something that potentially doesn't work. And peer sport's great, don't get me wrong, but is a 1 year option available?
Is there an out in the contract?
Yeah, so to answer that, so we would plan that. Corporation Council was at the prior meeting at Admin Phi, and that question came out. So there would be a cancellation clause of some sort if it was not working or the metrics that we set forward are being met.
Yeah, and we discussed that at admin and finance. If we're not meeting some metrics and it's not being helpful, and we're seeing, you know, we're not seeing the money being utilized, you know, and being good use of funds, we want to be able to cancel it. So when the contract comes forward, the Corp Council will make sure that we have an escape clause in there somehow. So
Thank you, Commissioner.
Supervisor Pease, Rick Pease, and then Supervisor Paler.
Currently with your jail population, how many of those would you believe could possibly use this program?
Well, most of the inmates that we book into the Adams County Jail, and that's the same for jails around the state, are either under an influence of alcohol and or drugs and withdrawing from them. So we typically, our staff are dealing with that. And so this is the time when they're incarcerated. Obviously, they don't get those narcotics in the jail or illegal street drugs. And so it's the time basically where we have their attention to be able to provide them some programming and resources and get them that link that they need once they are released from incarceration.
Supervisor Paler.
The concern I have with this is, like several other programs that we've started over the years, there does not appear to be any sunset clause. So when the $400,000 is gone, it's going to come out of county funding after that.
That would be dependent on, so this will be a 3-year contract. So when the contract's over, it's over. However, the board could decide to budget to continue the program, but that would be completely, you know, at your discretion.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Bozell?
So, Sheriff, the $107,000, is that per year or for the 3-year contract?
That's per year.
Annually.
All right. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, please vote on resolution number 13.
Scott Pease, yes.
Dolezal, yes.
Sure.
Total votes 20, 19 yes, 1 no. Podolsky, 3 Sale, yes.
Resolution number 13 is adopted. When the clerk is ready, we'll move on to resolution number 14.
Resolution 14, 2025, resolution to allow application for a surface water grant for the removal of Japanese knotweed on Peppermill Lake, introduced by and recommended for adoption by the Land and Water Conservation Committee this 13th day of May 2025. West, Churko, Sammelstead, Gabarsky, Paler, Morgan.
Motion to adopt by Supervisor Chirko, second by Supervisor Carvillo. So we have resolution number 14 on the floor. Any discussion or questions? Supervisor Postolsky.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, as you know, I'm a member of Land and Water, and we just had that meeting. And I mentioned in that meeting that there was no presentation or information attached to this resolution when it was presented to the Land and Water Committee for approval. There was basically left us with more questions than answers, and there was other unanswered questions too. So I'm gonna motion to send this back to the Land and Water Committee and have it presented with all the proper presentations and attachments as they should be prior to approval, so we can basically preview this information before we approve it. So motion to send this back to committee to have all the presentations properly attached prior to approval by the committee.
Okay.
We should be approving things without being able to see what it's about before we approve it. Simple.
I don't see a second on that motion, so that motion fails. Supervisor McLaughlin? Yes.
Is there a match required for the grant?
No. There's a contribution. I mean, it's just labor. It's just labor that is in the department's budget currently. Correct, Colton? Yes. Supervisor Pozdowski?
This is also brought up in the committee, Land and Water. There is no known research within Adams County regarding this. It's all been outside of the county. So I would also recommend that we do research here within the county before we're doing things, more research. So I'd also motion to send this back to committee
You can't.
for further research.
You already made a motion to send it back to committee and it wasn't seconded.
This is for further research.
It's the same motion, sending it back to committee, so.
No, it's for another reason.
Well, under rules of order, a motion to send it back to committee is a motion to send it back to committee. It doesn't define.
Well, I didn't get all these reasons out in the last motion, so I'm putting this out. Fair enough, though. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Please vote on resolution number 14.
Dolezal, yes.
Pease, yes.
Okay.
Total votes 20, 19 yes, 1 no. Podolsky, 3 Sale, yes.
Resolution number 14 is adopted. We had the claims that were previously read and the per diem mileage as listed. Do I have a motion to approve? Supervisor Bork, second by Supervisor Carvillo. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay, Supervisor Pozdolski.
Claims per diem and mileage are approved. Next meeting date is June 17th. The library would like to have us have a committee as a whole meeting and talk about a bookmobile. So if you want to come at 5 o'clock, it's not mandatory that you attend, so. But we're going to schedule it for 5 o'clock if there's no objection to that. For a committee on a whole, and then we'll start the county board meeting at 6 o'clock, so. Okay. Otherwise, we have nothing else. I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.